The voice he heard while heading to the 18th floor was about to shatter all of the CEO's prejudices. The woman wearing the burgundy cleaning uniform was speaking fluent Mandarin. Then she switched to Spanish. Then to French. Jonathan Kellerman had worked in the international logistics industry for 20 years, hired translators, built cross-cultural training programs. But he never imagined that the woman who had been cleaning toilets in his own building for months was the most linguistically gifted person he had ever encountered. Most people didn't notice the cleaning crew at Halberg International. Not out of malice, just habit. They came in after hours, pushing carts, changing trash bags, wiping down conference tables, blending into the background like elevator music. It was Monday morning in downtown Fort Worth, Texas, and the company's main lobby buzzed with shoes clacking against tile, people tapping on phones, talking deadlines, and clutching coffee like it held the answers. Jonathan Kellerman, the company's CEO, was halfway through his walk from the parking garage to the 18th floor executive suite when he heard it. A voice. But not just any voice. Fluent, sharp, and rolling through a language he hadn't heard since his last visit to the company's Shanghai office. Mandarin.it stopped him cold. Not because it was Mandarin, but because of who was speaking it. He glanced around, thinking maybe one of the international sales representatives had come in early. But then he saw her. A woman in a burgundy janitor's uniform, her short twists pulled back into a ponytail, standing near the touchscreen lobby directory. She was mid-conversation with an older man in a navy jacket and thick-rimmed glasses, who looked confused and relieved all at once. She was gesturing calmly, her voice warm and firm, directing him toward the elevators. Kellerman narrowed his eyes. He'd seen her before, passing through the halls after late meetings, always polite, always quiet, never made eye contact unless spoken to. He didn't even know her name. But here she was, effortlessly translating and explaining building logistics in a language most Americans couldn't even pronounce correctly. He took a slow step forward. As he got closer, she wrapped up the Mandarin conversation and turned toward a delivery man holding a clipboard. ¿Puede dirigirse a la sala de conferencias en el piso doce? Los ascensores están por allá, she said fluidly, switching into Spanish. The delivery man blinked. Sí, gracias. Then, just as casually, she turned to a vendor standing nearby, looking at a set of mislabeled boxes. C'est la salle de conférence BL Autocote, she told him in French, pointing with a faint smile. Kellerman's jaw clenched slightly. Not from anger, but from something else. Something tighter. A pinch of guilt. He'd worked in global logistics for over 2 decades, led international expansions, hired translators, built cross-cultural training programs. Yet here, in his own building, the most linguistically gifted person he'd encountered in months had been scrubbing toilets just 2 floors below. He stepped forward, more curious than commanding. Excuse me. She turned toward him, startled but composed. Yes, sir. He smiled faintly. That was Mandarin, right? Her expression shifted slightly, cautious now. Yes, sir. This gentleman was lost, and I was just… No, he interrupted, raising a hand. It's fine. I'm just… impressed. How many languages do you speak? She hesitated, as if the question caught her off guard. 6, sir. Fluently. 6. His eyebrows shot up. Which ones? English, Spanish, Mandarin, French, German, and Portuguese. Kellerman stopped breathing for a moment. This woman knew more languages than anyone in his international customer service department. Hell, she knew more languages than most of his executive team combined. What's your name? Maria Santos, sir. Santos. How long have you been working here? 8 months, sir. 8 months. For 8 months, Kellerman had been struggling with language barriers on international projects. He'd paid thousands for translation services. He'd postponed client meetings. He'd hired expensive consultants. And all this time, Maria Santos had been cleaning his building at night, fluently speaking 6 languages. The weight of it hit him like a truck. Maria, he said, his voice softer now. What are you doing here this morning? Don't you work the night shift? She tensed slightly. Yes, sir, but someone on the morning shift called in sick. I'm covering for them. I hope that's not a problem. It's not a problem, he said quickly. Quite the opposite. Could you come up to my office? I'd like to talk. Maria's eyes widened. Sir, did I do something wrong? No, Kellerman said, and for the first time in the conversation, he smiled genuinely. You didn't do anything wrong. Actually, you did everything right. As they walked toward the elevators, Kellerman's mind was racing. How many other Maria Santos were there in his company? How many talented people had he overlooked simply because of their uniforms, their shifts, their accents? How many opportunities had he missed because he'd stopped seeing the people who kept his building running? The elevator doors closed, and as they rose toward the 18th floor, Kellerman realized that this Monday morning was about to change everything. Not just for Maria Santos, but for him, for his company, and for everyone who'd ever been invisible in plain sight. He glanced at Maria, who stood quietly beside him, still clutching her cleaning supplies. She had no idea that her life was about to transform. But Kellerman knew. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary discoveries happen when you finally stop long enough to listen. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. And Jonathan Kellerman stepped into what would become the most important conversation of his professional life. Kellerman's corner office commanded a panoramic view of downtown Fort Worth. Floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek modern furniture, and walls lined with international achievement awards told the story of a man who'd built his career on global connections. Maria Santos had never been on the 18th floor. Night shift cleaners worked the executive suites after hours. When the powerful were long gone, now she sat across from him, hands folded in her lap, still wearing her burgundy uniform. The contrast wasn't lost on either of them. Maria, Kellerman leaned forward, tell me about yourself. Where did these language skills come from? She took a breath, as if deciding how much to reveal. It's a long story, sir. I have time. Her eyes drifted to the windows, taking in the view she'd never seen in daylight. I was born in Guadalajara, Mexico. My mother brought me to America when I was 5. My father was an engineer back home. Graduated top of his class, worked for multinational companies. But here. She paused. Here, his degree didn't matter. Kellerman said nothing, sensing there was more. My mother cleaned hotels. My father took construction work, whatever he could find. When I was little, Mom would bring me to work sometimes. The hotel was very international. Business travelers from everywhere. Her voice warmed with the memory. There was a French family who stayed for weeks. Their daughter would play with me, teach me words. Chinese executives who were patient with a curious little girl. A German couple who treated me like their granddaughter. You learned from the guests. From them, from library books, from my father. He never stopped believing in education, even when America told him his wasn't good enough. Every night, he'd practice with me. English, then whatever language I'd picked up that day. When the internet came, we found online courses, language exchange programs. Kellerman felt something tighten in his chest. And your degree? International Business, University of Guadalajara. Graduated summa cum laude. Her smile turned rueful. Just another piece of paper that doesn't translate, apparently. The words hung between them. Here was a woman with the exact qualifications his company desperately needed, scrubbing floors because the system had failed to see her value. Maria, have you ever applied for other positions here? Her face shifted, and he knew he'd hit something painful. Once. What happened? Last year. Customer service had an opening. Perfect fit, I thought. I applied. She paused, choosing her words carefully. The HR manager said I lacked relevant experience. Who was the HR manager? She hesitated. I don't want to cause trouble. Maria. Who? Rachel Morrison. Kellerman knew Rachel well. 5 years with the company, mediocre performance reviews, limited vision. The irony was stunning. Rachel Morrison, who spoke only English and had never worked internationally, had rejected the most qualified candidate he'd ever encountered. What experience did she say you lacked? American customer service experience. I told her about my 3 years at Banco Nacional in Guadalajara, handling international clients, but she said that was different. Different how? Maria's voice dropped. She said American customers expect a certain type of service. The implication was clear, and it made Kellerman's stomach turn. Maria, what else did you tell her about your background? Everything. The languages, the international business degree, the banking experience. I brought documentation, references, everything translated and notarized. She looked down at her hands. She barely looked at it. Kellerman stood up, walked to the window. Below, the city hummed with activity. People rushing to jobs where their talents were recognized, where their potential was nurtured. And here, in his own building, he'd allowed the most capable person to remain invisible. Maria, I need you to know something. What happened to you? What Rachel Morrison did? It's not just wrong. It's criminal waste of human potential. She looked up, surprised by his vehemence. You're not just qualified for customer service. You're overqualified. You should be running international operations, not cleaning them. Sir, I appreciate the sentiment, but it's not sentiment. It's business. He turned back to her. Do you know how much this company spent on translation services last year? She shook her head. $47,000. For services you could have provided in-house. Do you know how many international deals we lost because of communication barriers? Again, she shook her head. 3 major contracts, worth approximately $12 million combined. Maria's eyes widened. You're not just a missed opportunity, Maria. You're the solution to problems we didn't even realize we had. He sat back down. Tell me about your family. My mother is elderly, needs care. My younger brother Alex is finishing his engineering degree at UT Arlington. I'm covering his tuition. Her voice caught slightly. My father passed 3 years ago. Cancer. He never got to see Alex graduate. What would your father think about your current job? Maria was quiet for a long moment. He'd say all work has dignity. But she met his eyes. He'd also say I was meant for more. Kellerman nodded. He was right. And starting today, we are going to make sure you get it. Sir. First, we are creating a new position. International Client Relations Specialist. Second, we are going to review every employee in this company to make sure we haven't missed anyone else. Third. He paused. Third, Rachel Morrison and I are going to have a very serious conversation about what relevant experience actually means. For the first time since entering his office, Maria smiled. Really smiled. Thank you, sir. I don't know what to say. Say you'll start tomorrow. And Maria, call me Jonathan. We are colleagues now. The next morning, Rachel Morrison received a call that would define the rest of her career at Halberg International. She knocked on Kellerman's door at exactly 8:30 a.m., her usual confident demeanor intact. You wanted to see me, Jonathan. Sit down, Rachel. We need to discuss Maria Santos. The color drained from her face. I'm sorry. Who? The woman you interviewed last year for the customer service position. The one whose application you rejected. Rachel shifted uncomfortably. Jonathan, we processed dozens of applications. I can't remember every. She speaks 6 languages fluently. Has an international business degree. 3 years of banking experience with international clients. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Ring any bells? Look, I followed standard procedures. We needed someone with American experience, someone who understood our customer base. Our customer base is 40% international, Rachel. Well, yes, but do you speak Spanish? No, but that's not Mandarin, French, German, Portuguese. Jonathan, where is this going? He leaned back in his chair. It's going to a very simple question. By what logic is someone who speaks 1 language more qualified for international customer service than someone who speaks 6? Rachel's mouth opened and closed without sound. "I'll wait." "It's not just about languages," she finally managed. "It's about cultural fit, communication style, understanding American business practices." "Stop." Kellerman's voice cut through her excuses. "Just stop. Because what you're describing isn't job qualifications. It's prejudice. And it ends today." "Jonathan, I resent the implication. I don't care what you resent. I care about results. Maria Santos is now our International Client Relations Specialist. Effective immediately. And you're going to help me conduct a comprehensive review of every employee file to find others we've overlooked. This is highly irregular, so is wasting the talents of people who could transform this company. The review starts Monday. Your job, Rachel, depends on how seriously you take it." After Morrison left, Kellerman called Maria. "Can you come in this afternoon? I have something for you." 2 hours later, Maria sat in his office again, this time without her cleaning uniform. She wore a simple but professional outfit, and Kellerman could see the woman she'd always been beneath the role she'd been forced to play. He slid a folder across the desk. "Your employment contract." She opened it, and her hands began to shake. "International Client Relations Specialist. Salary." She looked up. "This is 3 times what I make now. It's what the position pays. What you're worth. What would I be doing? Building bridges. You'll work directly with our international clients, handle translation and cultural consulting, troubleshoot communication issues. More importantly, you'll help me expand our global operations." Maria stared at the contract. "I can't believe this is real." "It's real. And there's more. I want you to build a team. Find other people like you. People whose talents we've missed. People working in the shadows who should be in the spotlight. You want me to hire people? I want you to revolutionize how we think about talent. Look beyond resumes and accents and uniforms. Find the gifts we've been blind to." Maria signed the contract with trembling hands. "When do I start?" "Tomorrow." "But Maria, this isn't charity. This is business. I expect results." She smiled through tears. "You'll get them." That evening, Maria called her mother first. "Mama, remember what Papa always said? About dreams having no limits?" "Sigh. Mija. Why?" "Because mine just came true." Her mother's sobs of joy carried through the phone. "Your father would be so proud." Next, she called Alex at college. "Hermana, what's wrong? You never call during study hours." "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. You don't have to worry about tuition anymore." "What do you mean?" "I mean finish your degree. Focus on learning. I've got this covered." "Maria, what happened?" "I finally got to use my voice." The following Monday, Maria walked into Halberg International wearing a tailored blazer and carrying a leather briefcase. The security guard who'd seen her countless times in her cleaning uniform did a double take. "Maria, is that you?" "Good morning, James." "Yes, it's me." "You look different." She smiled. "I feel different. See you around." Her new office was on the 15th floor, with windows overlooking the city. Her first task was to review the employee database, looking for hidden talents. What she found astounded her. David Kim in shipping had an electrical engineering degree from Seoul National University. He'd been assembling packages for 2 years. Fatima al-Rashid in the mailroom was a former physician from Damascus. She sorted letters because her medical credentials weren't recognized. Carlos Mendoza in the cafeteria held a master's degree in economics from Lima. He served sandwiches because no one had bothered to ask about his background. Aisha Okonkwo, who cleaned the executive floors at night, had a PhD in English literature from the University of Lagos. Within a month, Maria had assembled what would become known as the International Dream Team. David became their Asia-Pacific specialist. Fatima handled Middle East and North Africa relations. Carlos managed Latin American operations. Aisha developed their African market communications. The results were immediate and stunning. Customer satisfaction scores soared. New market penetration accelerated. Revenue from international contracts increased by 40% in the first quarter. But the real transformation wasn't in the numbers. It was in the culture. Suddenly, everyone at Halberg International understood that talent came in many forms, spoke many languages, and wore many uniforms. The janitor might be a poet. The security guard might be an engineer. The cafeteria worker might hold the key to your next breakthrough. Maria had done more than change her own life. She changed the way an entire company saw human potential, and it all started because one CEO finally stopped long enough to listen. 6 months after Maria Santos traded her mop for a briefcase, Halberg International was unrecognizable. The International Client Relations Department had become the company's crown jewel, generating revenue that made board members' heads spin and attracting global attention from business magazines. Maria's team of former outcasts had become legends within the industry. Their diverse backgrounds weren't just tolerated, they were celebrated as competitive advantages. When Halberg negotiated with clients in Seoul, David Kim's cultural insights proved invaluable. When they expanded into Middle Eastern markets, Fatima al-Rashid's medical background and language skills opened doors that money couldn't buy. Carlos Mendoza's economic expertise had identified emerging opportunities in Latin America that bigger firms had missed. Aisha Okonkwo's communication strategies had transformed how they presented themselves across African markets. But the true measure of change came on a Tuesday morning when Kellerman's phone rang. "Jonathan, it's Maria. We need to talk. Something big just happened." An hour later, she stood in his office with a smile that could power the building. "We just closed the Yamamoto deal." Kellerman nearly dropped his coffee. The Yamamoto Corporation contract had been a white whale for Halberg International, a $50 million logistics agreement that would establish them as a major player in the Pacific Rim. They'd been competing against companies 3 times their size. How? Language and trust. When I spoke to Mr. Yamamoto in fluent Japanese, when Fatima explained our Middle East operations in Arabic to their regional partners, when David presented our technical capabilities in Korean to their engineering team, they didn't just see a vendor. They saw partners who understood their world. $50 million, Kellerman whispered. $50 million because you gave a janitor a chance to speak. The success created a ripple effect that reached far beyond Fort Worth. Harvard Business School requested a case study. International companies began calling, asking how Halberg had discovered such talent. Fortune magazine ran a feature titled The Hidden Workforce, How One CEO Found Gold in His Own Backyard. But for Maria, the sweetest victory was personal. That afternoon, she called Alex. "Hermana, guess what? I got the internship." "At Boeing?" "Yes. And they said my English is perfect. No accent discrimination. No questions about where I'm really from. Just respect for my skills." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Papa would be so proud." "He'd be proud of both of us. You saved my future. Maria, you saved all of us." That evening, Kellerman found himself staying late, not because of work pressure, but because he was energized. The company hummed with a different energy now. People walked taller. Conversations happened in multiple languages. The cafeteria buzzed with discussions about international markets and cultural exchange. Rachel Morrison had adapted or perished. Faced with the undeniable success of Maria's approach, she'd embraced the new hiring philosophy. Her latest recruits included a former professor from Tehran working in maintenance, and a Russian physicist in the cleaning crew. "We are not just finding hidden talent," she told Kellerman in their weekly review. "We are creating a model that other companies are desperate to replicate." The model was indeed replicable, and Maria had an idea about that. "Jonathan, I want to start something new." They were having dinner at the Fort Worth Club, celebrating the Yamamoto deal. Maria had come a long way from cleaning toilets to dining where deals were made. "What kind of something?" "A consulting firm. Halberg Talent Discovery. We help other companies find their hidden Maria Santoses." Kellerman set down his wine glass. "You want to leave?" "No, I want to expand. Keep my role here, but also help other organizations unlock potential they don't even know they have." "That's brilliant. It's necessary. There are thousands of people out there, maybe millions, working below their potential because no one bothered to look past their circumstances." Within a year, Halberg Talent Discovery was operating in 12 states. They'd helped a hospital discover that their night security guard was a former neurosurgeon from El Salvador. They'd found a software engineer from Mumbai working as a taxi driver in Detroit. They'd revealed that a janitor in Seattle was a former Olympic athlete who could revolutionize a company's wellness program. Each discovery reinforced the same truth. Extraordinary people are everywhere, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to care enough to see them. The ultimate validation came from an unexpected source. Maria received a letter forwarded from her old address in the poor part of town where she'd grown up. "Dear Maria Santos," it read, "you don't know me, but I know your story. I'm a night janitor at a tech company in Austin. Like you, I have skills they don't know about. I speak 4 languages and have a computer science degree from India. Your story gave me courage to speak up. Today, I became their new software developer. Thank you for showing me that invisible doesn't mean worthless. Respectfully, Priya Patel." Maria framed the letter and hung it next to her father's photo in her office. On the 1-year anniversary of her promotion, Kellerman visited Maria's bustling department. The walls were covered with world maps marking their international partnerships, photos from client meetings across 6 continents, and thank you letters in dozens of languages. "Any regrets?" he asked. Maria smiled. Watching David explain Korean business customs to a new hire, Fatima consulting with doctors in Cairo via video call, Carlos analyzing market trends in Brazil, and Aisha preparing a presentation for clients in Nigeria. "Just one," she said. "What's that?" "That it took 8 months of cleaning toilets for someone to hear my voice." Kellerman nodded. "I promise you, Maria, in this company, that will never happen again." "No," she said, looking out at the city below, where countless other hidden talents were waiting for their moment. "Not just in this company. Everywhere. That's the real work we are doing now." And it was. One voice at a time, one story at a time, one chance at a time, they were changing the world, all because a CEO finally learned to listen.